Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up, we're going to be breaking down the first day of Raiders padded practice. Antonio Pierce said bang, bang, and he wanted a lot of content. He wanted a lot of physicality. And you know what, damn it? It's one of the things that I'm super fired up for because teams take on that identity. They take on the identity of their head coach, and you could clearly see today that the Raiders are going to be one of the most physical football teams in the NFL. And based on all the training camp practice that we've seen so far, this was the most important one. You know how also I know it was important? You got this guy on the sideline. And Mark Davis, anytime you got the owner who's sitting there talking to Tom Telesco, he's on the sideline looking over practice, this is a big investment for him. And I don't even mean like the Raiders in general. Him taking his team to California, doing everything that he did, he had a big investment, and he wants to see that it's paying off. And you know what? All signs show that this one is paying off. If you're wondering why you should If you're wondering why you should subscribe to the Raiders Report, I promise. I just came back from my bachelor party, and I feel like I'm still there at times. Raiders training camp news updates every single day. Chuggs and I, we usually go live 4 days a week, but with training camp and once the regular season gets going, if there's news to talk about, we'll put that video out ASAP Rocky. If the Raiders go out and they sign anybody, we got breaking news coverage. 100% for free, and on Raiders game days, we party Oakland style. So a lot of the training camp notes that you're going to see today are in order of when that they happened at Raiders training camp. They did a lot of running practice today. Like, I mean, a lot of running. If I had to say, put a number on it, if they ran, let's say, 100 plays, which they didn't, but if they ran 100 plays, I'd say like 80 of them were running plays. They wanted to get out there. They wanted to get physical. And even though the offense, according to reports, was better today, clearly the defensive side of the football was the better side of the football. One player who's just continuously not practicing is John Jenkins. And, you know, like this is always the time of the offseason where people do start to hit that panic button a little bit. Everything I'm hearing about John, just, you know, he's up there. They want to make sure that he's healthy. They want to make sure that he's ready to go when you're 34, 35 years old. I think at this point, you're not going to learn too much from training camp, especially with a defensive line coach you have plenty of familiarity with, especially when you got working on a defense that you have plenty of familiarity with. To me, one of the biggest winners from the defensive side of the football today, if not maybe the biggest winner, was Adam Butler. He was flying all over the football field, made a lot of key stops early on in the practice for the running drills, which for me, I like Butler's game a lot, being able to take on the double team. And I used to always say that he was probably one of the most underappreciated Raiders defensive players that we had on our team last season. So to see him step up is a really, really good sign. I'm still hoping that you see some of these other younger players potentially step up as well. But it looks like right now, if the season were to start and if John Jenkins isn't in there, it's going to be Christian Wilkins. It's going to be Adam Butler. Those would be your top two defensive tackles. Then if Jenkins is healthy, he's going to be your main guy. The other dude that I would say stole the spotlight today, and it's, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's Dylan Laube. Dylan Laube is absolutely on fire right now, and he's a player that just continues to climb himself up depth charts, worked with the ones today on third down. And the fact that he's already working with the ones already on third down, I think is a big sign that shows what this coaching staff thinks of him. Like, the first day of padded practice, Dylan Laube working with the threes. That's a monumental thing. And Laube, before padded practice, said this, and I thought this was an awesome quote. And you know what? It fires me up for this guy. Pads are about to come on, so now we're about to see who the true players are. I mean, yeah, you can run around in shells and helmets and make plays, but when the pads come on, that's when the true player comes out. You've got to strap it up and get ready to go. I just want you guys to know it's going to be fun, not just for me, but for this whole team. When you heard players like Malcolm Koonce today spoke to the media, Thayer Munford spoke to the media today, Divine Diablo, I think one of the common things that over and over and over again is just being hyped up to me is this team loves each other, and the fact that they're all hanging out with each other after practice. This is a very, very close group, almost kind of like a college football team where they start to know each other. And you're starting to see players like talk about how they're creating that brotherly vibe. And when you play 17 games, when you're just a big-time, highest level of competition, any competitive advantage that you can find, that's what helps build great football teams. That's what helps build great franchises. And I think Antonio Pierce is installing the idea of, you know, we're building a brotherhood here. We're going back to the old Raiders ways, and it is becoming contagious with a lot of these players here. So Dylan Laube continues to impress. And I'm going to keep on asking questions around Laube because I think that he was the the star of training camp. Like, Maxx is always going to get his. Davante is always going to get his. But Laube was the main star today. So give me more or less. This is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. I'm going to give you my answer after this YouTube ad break. I believe that Dylan Laube is going to get more than 500 combined yards on offense this season. I can remember that a Raiders beat reporter a month ago said that this guy might not even make the team. We made a video about it being like, bro, you got to wake up here a little bit. I can remember being on Twitter defending, saying that one of my biggest sleepers this upcoming season, Dylan Laube. And I know 500 combined yards might seem low to some people out there. Some people might want to go a little bit higher. Here's the thing. Zamir White, he's still the running back one. That's not changing. Like, even if Dylan hits that peak, he's still going to split reps with Zamir. So what you're going out there and hoping for, at least for me in my book, is that Laube can maybe get, let's say, 200 rushing yards. Let's give him like 300 receiving yards. There's still just so many other mouths to feed on that offense, whether it's Davante, Jakobi. The biggest note that I got away from practice today, with him working with the threes and with some of these other players working on special teams, the fact that Dylan Laube ain't working on special teams as much as we thought, and he's already getting work with the ones in terms of on third down, that tells me that they value him a lot more than they originally thought. And I'm really hoping that we go back and we look at the draft and we go, man, we got that white kid in the sixth round, and he's going to turn out to be one hell of a football player. He's from New York. He's going out there and he's balling out, and I can't wait to see what he does this upcoming season. Coming up, we got more training camp news and notes to get into. It feels so good to be back to football, does it not? If you're happy Raiders football's back and you're watching this live, give me a Raiders down below. You know what else I love? I love being able to save money. And shout out to Rocket Money for hooking up Raider Nation here, saving some money. And if anybody doesn't know, well, now you do, because Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with just a few taps. I love my fiance, Alex, but she's the queen of signing up for a free trial and forgetting about it. Rocket Money helps me and her make sure we aren't just throwing money away. If you're someone saving up for, I don't know, a house, a wedding, a car, a vacation, maybe you're coming back from a bachelor trip and you need to save some money. Maybe you're saving up for Raiders tickets. Also, one of the things that Chuggs has been helping me with is you can also check out your credit score. So to me, you should definitely go to rocketmoney.com/LVRaiders. Rocket Money has over 5 million users that have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/LVRaiders. That's rocketmoney.com/LVRaiders. I'm going to say it again in case you weren't paying attention. rocketmoney.com/LVRaiders. Let's keep it moving here on some of our Raiders training camp news and notes. The 7-on-7s was, I think, good for the offense and defense, both sides. Again, defense won. I've also seen it being reported that Gardner Minshew had the better day. I saw it reported that Aidan O'Connell had the better day. I got a text message from one of my guys saying Minshew was good, but the best quarterback was Anthony Brown today. Bottom line is this. I want all of y'all to be able to take as much information from as many people as humanly possible. Like, just because I say something, don't just believe just me, right? Like, I have different sources. Other people have different sources. Like, you need to be able to take in all the everything that you're hearing about this quarterback battle, because from what it sounds like, it's legitimately a 50-50 race. The one note that I did get was that the offensive line was much better today and that the Raiders quarterbacks had more time to throw just simply because they were able to get a little bit more physical with that run game. So it's good to see that the offensive line was able to step up today. Another player that I got a lot of notes on, Jakorian Bennett. And Bennett just continues to go out there and prove that he's ready to make that leap. As a rookie, he struggled. He was out there, he was thinking way too much. Made a few really clutch plays today, broke up a few balls on Davante Adams. But, like, when you have a player and you're going up against Davante, you're going up against some of these, like, star-studded players that the silver and black have. If you're Jakorian Bennett, you got to love the way that you're looking right now, because it's Nate Hobbs, it's Jack Jones, and it's Bennett. If the season started today, the number one corner next to Jack, next to Nate, it would be Jakorian, and you got to love that, because if he's able to take that step forward like a Trevon Merrick did in his second year in Patrick Graham's system, if he's able to take a step forward like Malcolm Koonce did in his second year with Patrick Graham. I mean, we could have one of the best secondaries. We don't even know it yet. Maybe that's why the Raiders haven't gone out and signed anybody with the salary cap space that we have. Another guy that continues to make big plays is Nate Hobbs. And I feel like last week I was told that Jack Jones looks like he's the best corner on the Raiders. And just over the past 2 days, like, Crosby's going to go out there and do his thing. Nate Hobbs is another one of those players that our expectations for him are so high that, like, when he doesn't go out there and put up an unbelievable day, I think we're kind of sitting around going, well, I just expected more. Nate Hobbs, though, continues to go out there and kind of like reassured himself to everyone, I'm the best corner on this football team. Let's talk a little bit about Thayer Munford today, because I got nervous when I saw Munford exit practice early on. DJ Glaze, they filled in for him nicely at right tackle. Luckily, Munford was able to come back. He injured his left hand, and the fact that he was able to return to practice, they'll go out there and compete in a physical practice. And, like, the physicality of today's practice on a scale of 1 to 10 for training camp was a big old fat 10. And I mean that. Like, it was as physical as what you're going to get from a training camp practice. So the fact that he was able to go back out there, and then he was able to talk to the media, he also said that his hand is good. I think those are all good signs. But if there's one thing that we got to talk about, it's this Raiders offensive line that, you know, is clearly battling some injuries, at least right now, where you got Colt Miller, you got Jackson Powers-Johnson. Thayer Munford left for a brief time, and when Munford ended up leaving the practice field today, this is what the Raiders offensive line was looking like. You had Andres Pete at left tackle, Cody Whitehair was at left guard, Andre James at center, Dylan Parham at right guard, and then they just put the rookie DJ Glaze at right tackle. Munford had a lot of very kind things to say about the rookie during his press conference, said that, you know, sky's the limit for him, said that he's, you know, a really hard worker, says that he's going to be a very special player in this league. And I think when you look at the Raiders offensive line, it might not be a unbelievable starting five. Like, think of an NBA roster where, sure, sometimes NBA rosters, that starting five, obviously it's important. But a lot of those teams that, like, have the big-time playoff runs, they're like 8, 9 guys deep. This Raiders offensive line is legit 8, 9 players deep. They might not have the best starting five, but I'd be able to look at that Raiders O-line, their top 9, and say that's one of the better offensive line units in football, at least from a depth perspective, from a versatility perspective. But with the offensive line being a question, right? Like, we could talk about Adam, we could talk about Gardner, we could talk about Zeus, Dylan Laube, we could talk about Davante Adams, Brock Bowers, Jakobi Meyers, Tre Tucker, Michael Mayer. We got a lot of good skill position players. But none of it matters if you can't block. So what is your panic meter right now on this Raiders offensive line? Because, and I'm asking this because my thought process in my mind was like, when Munford went down, I go, oh God, that's 3 potential starters that just went down on our O-line. So scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, you're not panicking at all. 10, you're getting ready to pull your hair out. The answer that I'm going to give on this one is a 5, and I'm giving it a 5 just simply because the Raiders offensive line, it needs to be healthy, just like all offensive lines do, but you're also going to play such a physical style of football this season, and the plan is to run the rock a lot. You can't do those plans unless you have a lot of depth or a healthy offensive line. So the fact that we've been getting banged up as early as we have, I love physical practices. I love guys going out there and treating practices like games. I think it's good. But we also need to have a healthy team going up against some of our division rivals, the Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm going to give this one a panic meter of 5 out of 10. Let's keep it moving here. One of the notes that I got today was Cody Whitehair got, and I quote, worked today. Raiders interior offensive line did not have a good day whatsoever. The Raiders defensive tackle group, Adam Butler, Christian Wilkins, they continuously made plays, and yeah, Cody Whitehair got work today, straight up. Like, it was not a good day for Whitehair. Another person who struggled today was Dylan Parham. Now, the notes that I got were it was a very different Parham based on when he was out there with Munford, he was okay. When Munford ended up getting hurt and DJ Glaze went out there at right tackle, I was told that he really struggled without him. And it doesn't really surprise me. That's that chemistry factor when you talk about a lot of offensive lines. New offensive line coach James Craig. Then he's next to a rookie again. Like, it's a lot of different and moving parts. But, like, you still want to see Dylan Parham, who's now entering his 3rd year in the NFL. You want him to take that next step. And I'm really, really hoping that he's able to take that next step. But sometimes when you struggle, it's good to learn from it. Parham even said himself today, I didn't have the best practice today. And yet sometimes, like, you see a player like that, and that's a maturity level, and I love seeing that from Parham. Coming up next here on the show, let's get into just more training camp news. We're going to talk about Aidan. We're going to talk about maybe the biggest play of the day today. Before I get into that, though, for those that do not know, we're going to be partying in North Carolina week 1. Jeremy, Chuggs, and I, it's a free event to go to. Go to chatsports.com/week1 to get your tickets now. If you enjoy our watch parties here on YouTube, well, guess what? It's even crazier in person. And it's also going to have some prizes, going to have some food, going to have some drink deals that we've given away. When I say we, I'm talking about Autumn Abyss. They're the ones that are running this thing down in North Carolina, the North Carolina fan group. They've given away like signed Raiders helmets for Hall of Fame players, previous players, current players. They do all sorts of stuff, and I need you to get your free watch party tickets at chatsports.com/week1. This event is going to be located at the Back Den Bar and Grill. If you want to hang out with Jeremy, Chuggs, and I, we're going to be playing Top Golf with 20 Raiders fans. So 20 people are going to win. You got to get your raffle tickets, though, down here at chatsports.com/topgolf. Both event links are going to be available to you all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. If you want to hang out with Jeremy and I September 7th and September 8th down in North Carolina when we watch in, cheering on the Raiders take down the Chargers, hit us up. It's going to be a lot of fun, and bring your drink of pants. Let's go to the next thing here. It's with Jakobi Meyers. I was told that even though there wasn't a lot of passes thrown today, it looked like Jakobi had a pretty good rapport with AOC, and we know Aidan worked a lot with Tre Tucker this offseason. I was told Tre Tucker did drop a deep ball touchdown, which was kind of frustrating a little bit, or might not have been a touchdown, but it was a really, really deep play that Aidan hit him with. Needs to be able to come down with that. One of the players that I was told was cooking with Minshew today was Brock Bowers, and just seeing that like intermediate route, like Bowers is so good at running routes, getting open. He can kind of play like that backyard style. He also had like a 20-yard rush today from some of the notes that I got, which is incredible from a tight end. And I think it just goes to show that the way that they might use him, they could use him on jets. They can use him as an H-back, like a fullback. AP kind of talked about it a little bit today. But Bowers is just, he's as good as advertised, and I can't wait to see what he looks like in week 1. Another note here is from Zamir White, and it's nothing that I got from practice. One of my buddies just texted me, like, because I sent him, like, yo, there's a lot of Laube hype, and I heard he's working with the ones, and he told me, well, he's working with the ones on third down, but Zamir White is clearly still the RB1. There's going to be a lot of Laube hype, and the way that I would explain the Laube hype is it's Laube hype because for a lot of people that did not pay attention in May, June, and July, it is unexpected hype. But for a lot of Raiders Report watchers, for a lot of people that stay in tune of what this team's been doing all offseason, it's like a lot of Laube hype, but Zamir White is still the RB1. Think of it as almost like if a defensive end goes out there, like Charles Snowden was getting some love today. Charles Snowden goes out there and has a great practice. That's awesome, but he wasn't better than Maxx Crosby. I'm not saying Laube's not better than Zamir, but Zamir is the RB1 here. Probably the biggest play of the day was Anthony Brown had a read option touchdown run. And, you know, you got Gardner, good athlete. Aidan O'Connell, a little bit of a statue back there. Obviously have very, very different skill sets. But, like, early on, I was very confident. I shouldn't say very confident. I thought that Carter Bradley could be a sneaky player that could potentially make this 53-man roster. I think now Anthony Brown has almost cemented himself as the QB3, and you'll probably see that in preseason. But man, oh man, wouldn't it be wild if we had a 3-man competition? I'm kidding, because if Anthony Brown's competing for that QB1 job, that's not a good thing. I'll finish this with this, where I always say people talk so much about starters. Starters this, starters that. People want to see who starts the season at quarterback for the Raiders. Aidan O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit. Not that I don't give a shit. I care more about who starts at the end of the season. Who's our Raiders starting quarterback at the end of the season? Who's the Raiders starting quarterback in the fourth quarter? I think it's more important than who's the Raiders starting quarterback in the first quarter. And today with the first day of padded practices, Aidan was working with the ones at the end of practice during 2-minute drills. And it does also go on par with how the Raiders have been doing this quarterback battle. One day has been Gardner, another day has been Aidan, and so on and so forth. But one thing that I'm definitely going to be looking at is tomorrow at the end of practice, is it going to be Gardner or could it be Aidan O'Connell again? Because even though all reports are, everything that they're saying, it's neck and neck, those are the little things that I'm looking for at training camp to see who could potentially be the Raiders starting quarterback. Now, remember, y'all, we put out a lot of content on social media as well. You can always hit me up on IG and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365 if you need to be able to stay up to date on all things going on around the silver and black. I know that not everybody found me through YouTube. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on social media, so please don't be afraid to hit me up on my DMs. The season's getting started, and we're putting out a lot of content on YouTube and on social media. Just make sure you guys give me a follow.